In a game where number 1 is the only number that counts, these men are the best. They're the best at high speed. Their commitment has to be total. Their bravery has to be complete. But the mark of these giants is their ability to improvise. Improvisation is the name of the game when you come to the place they are about to race on today.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. Word from the Vatican moments ago that Pope Paul is dead. The leader of the Roman Catholic Church was 80 years old. Earlier today...
1, the pit road is an armed camp. 2 different teams of competitors out here today, and they're angry. And 2 is the story of this race. Let's deal first with the race itself, Dan. 200 miles, 100 laps, hot.
2 miles per lap, a D-shaped track, 22-degree bankings in the turns, even a 12-degree banking at the start-finish line. It's the fastest track on the USAC Championship Trail, and it's not the smoothest track. It's very rough, very difficult to set up the chassis.
4-cylinder versus 8-cylinder, and it's really boiled over here. The anger came out in the qualifying today. The 4-cylinders electing to run at about 75 miles an hour. The 8-cylinders running at a full bore of over 200 miles per hour. Dan, tell us just a bit about it.
Well, it's a real modern-day protest. I'm surprised they didn't carry placards, but it amounts to complaining about the fact that everyone during qualification must carry a boost limiting device, and it seems to penalize the 4-cylinder cars more than the 8s. The 4-cylinder boys feel that they just don't have a chance in qualifying, and they're trying to get attention to that problem.
There's a lot more to that story. We're going to be covering it in the course of our coverage today. In the pits for us, let's go to Paul Page.
This is the pole car of Tom Sneva, the fastest qualifier here today at 210.7 miles an hour on this high bank speedway. But there will be another interesting story developing in the pits today. There is a new USAC rule to try and help clear up scoring problems that develop when the yellow light is turned down. What they are going to do is keep the pace car out on the track and close the pits until the cars have grouped up behind the pace car. Then when they are ready, they will open the pits and the cars will be allowed in. That should mean quite a dash when it actually develops. Ken?
Thank you, Paul. Nice to have Paul Page with us. Brock Yates is at Talladega, Alabama, and incidentally there at the halfway mark, Cale Yarborough is in front, Lenny Pond is in second. 2 weeks from this past Saturday, you'll see the highlights of the Talladega 500 on the CBS Sports Spectacular, along, of course, with the Traverse from Saratoga, and what a great horse race that's going to be. It's going to be a busy weekend of racing, the 19th and 20th, with Talladega and the Traverse on Saturday, and on Sunday, USAC racing live from Milwaukee. That's what's coming up on CBS just 2 weeks away. I think perhaps the biggest story of the year, Dan, has been the story of Al Unser, a guy coming in with a brand new car and winning 2 of the 500-mile races that USAC runs. They run 3 each year. Al Unser is a very special guy to many of us. And earlier we had an opportunity to give you an in-depth look at one of the great racing champions of all time. For years, the Unsers have been the first family of American motorsport. Dad, Mom, Al, Louis the mechanic, Bobby. A 4th brother, Jerry, lost his life at Indianapolis. Car 56 had a new wild one in it back in 1957. It was Al Unser tearing up those bullpens in New Mexico in races where oftentimes the purse was worth about as much as the trophy itself. The Unsers, they'd come out of Colorado Springs, Colorado in the shadow of Pikes Peak, and that truly is where the Unser family learned to drive. Al won it twice. In 1965, Al Unser went to Indianapolis for the first time, qualified 32nd, finished 9th, Rookie of the Year. Since then, he's gone on to win Indy 3 times, and now could become the first driver in history to win the United States Auto Club's Triple Crown. After 21 years, now a 3-time Indianapolis champion, 35 United States Auto Club championship car victories, it all has to be pretty gratifying, Al.
Well, Ken, it really is to have a racing career like I've had. It's fantastic. But what makes it all neat is I got a son, 16 years old, that just won his first main event in the sprint cars the other night and did a fantastic job.
Did you watch him?
No, I wished I could have. I don't know if I'm ready to handle all that. I watched him the week before, and he ran second, and he almost won the feature. But it's just the greatest feeling in the world to see your son out there doing the same thing you love, you know, and there's no match to it.
And the lineage will continue. Unsers, true kings of American motor speedways. Al Unser has qualified well for today's race. He is in the 4th row. Outside, he will be starting in 8th position in car number 2. And there you see the national standings going into today's 11th event of the USAC Championship Trail. Tommy Sneva's first. Unser's in 2nd. Dallenbach is in 3rd. Incidentally, there are 400 points to the winner of today's race. You USAC aficionados, it's 400 points for today's race here. It's based upon purse. And there you see the remainder of the top 10 in this great competition of the United States Auto Club. And these guys are just about set to go here live, the Texas 200 from the Texas World Speedway. Gridded right now, 22 cars strong for the start of the race. We've just had a mini Indy race which had 8 cars together at the finish. Then one car took a terrible crash, rolling over about 10 times. The driver was all right, but it was some race. Harold McDonald victorious over Bill Alsop in 2nd place and John Wood in 3rd. And now here we see the Indianapolis cars capable over 200 miles an hour. And here's Tommy Sneva's car number 1 on the pole. Now remember, Sneva has not won a race this year, but he's number 1 on the championship trail. He is consistent. Tom Sneva's number 1, the pole sitter for today's race, qualified at 210.773. And you know who this is. This is A.J. Foyt. Won here in 1976 in a 150-mile event, but he's won so many races. And there's the giant himself. A.J. moving his umbrella, trying to keep a little bit of the heat out of the cockpit of his Foyt Coyote Gilmore Racing Team car. A.J. Foyt will start 2nd. He qualified, Dan, at 208 miles an hour.
My old teammate, A.J. Foyt.
Your old teammate?
Yes.
At Le Mans.
We shared the car at Le Mans.
That's right.
Yes.
Row number 2. Now, here's a story. Rick Mears, number 7. This is the kid Roger Penske wanted a motorcycle ride with, liked, and hired him, and he's won 2 races this year. Sophomore driver from Phoenix, Arizona, Penske Cosworth, and he's qualified at 208 miles an hour. He'll be starting this number 7 in the 3rd position. Flanking him, one of the most likable people, but certainly a firebrand of the racetrack. It's Johnny Rutherford of Fort Worth, Texas, the only 2-time winner here at the Texas World Speedway. And there you see him, just about ready to hitch up the helmet and get the cockpit set up and get into this automobile race.
Johnny has the spirit. He's a perennial rookie. He really has a spirit.
Row number 3, starting in the 5th position for today's race, will be the gentleman from Colorado, formerly out of New Jersey, and there is Wally Dallenbach in car number 6, a McLaren Cosworth, who qualified at 201 miles per hour. I'd sure like to see him get a win today.
I think Judd Phillips has the car working the best that Wally has had so far this year. He's very pleased with it.
You're watching live as the drivers prepare for the start of this 200-mile USAC race, and there's a car. Gee, I don't know who that belongs to, but they say Bobby Unser is going to drive it. Dan Gurney, it says there on the right side. From Albuquerque, New Mexico, 2-time Indianapolis winner, Unser, ready to go. His brother also in this race, and Eagle Cosworth. What about it, Daniel? Is this thing ready to win?
You bet. You bet. It's a long way, 200 miles. We have 5 cars to go, right?
That's right. Let's go back to row 4 after we took a look at Dan Gurney's Eagle that Bobby Unser will be chauffeuring today. In the 7th position is car number 8. Brownsburg, Indiana driver, the Fletcher Racing Team car for Pancho Carter. And there is Pancho getting ready to go. He's due for a win. He drove for you last year. This car ran very fast in practice yesterday. It was the 2nd fastest in practice.
I think that Pancho is particularly good on the high bank tracks. He's super in sprint cars, and he was going very well last year here in our car.
Now notice they're putting that cool hat over the top of his head. That's that system to keep the body a little cooler.
It has the capillary tubes with the ice water being pumped through it, and I'm sure it helped somewhat.
Starting beside him today will be Al Unser in the car number 2 as they continue to try to wrestle Pancho Carter into his... And there's Gordon Johncock getting ready. Remember now, he is one of those 4-cylinder powered Drake Offenhauser people, and he will be starting well back on the grid because he didn't run very fast. Earlier, we talked to Gordon Johncock, who was the spokesman for the 4-cylinder people, about his concerns, why they ran this protest of slow laps today. And Johncock was very lucid. He wanted to talk about this subject, and here's what Gordon Johncock had to say.
We got to make Well, I really don't know. We have no chance whatsoever of qualifying against the V8s. I think, in fact, here at Texas, I don't think the four-cylinder cars are even going to qualify tomorrow. I think we're just going to draw for positions. There's no use going out there and taking a chance of blowing the engine or losing it, trying to run hard, you know. There's no use of it because we have no chance of whatsoever of qualifying up front. So I think the four-cylinder guys are just going to get together and kind of start according to the speeds that we've been running in practice.
So, in other words, you're willing to give up the front of the field for this race?
Well, that's definitely true. You know, I mean, I can go out and qualify maybe half of the V8s, maybe. That's all. But what's the use? This is a wide racetrack. You have lots of passing room here, so that's the way. I think that's the way we're going to do it. We're just not going to qualify. There's no use of going out and wasting our time and maybe an engine or something.
Gordon Johncock, he will be starting in the 15th position. He will be in row number 8 for today's race. Johncock will be starting 15th on the grid. And there you see some of the other cars now preparing. Let's go to Paul Page in the pits.
Here is this controversy as represented by two individuals. Pat Patrick, you own Gordon Johncock's car. It is you people that have the complaint here today. What is it?
Well, Paul, we don't really have a complaint here. We have a complaint in general. Our sponsor, North American Van Lines, is unhappy the way the rule restrictions are structured and have asked us to take a definite position in an effort to change the fuel rule so that the four-cylinder car would be more competitive.
On the other hand, Jim Hall owns Al Unser's car. It is an 8-cylinder car. It has won the last 3 500-mile races. How do you respond to their complaint, Jim?
Well, of course, we feel like the rules are written for the year and that we all came in knowing what the rules were. And we feel like we've got a commitment to our sponsors and to the public to run the best race we can under the regulations. And we all need to know what the regulations are, and I think it's been a fair attempt to make fair regulations. Now, this is a protest that these people are unhappy, and we do have a forum for that, and I'm not sure that you know, public protest is a way to settle it. I'd rather see it handled through the channels of the club.
And that seems to be one of the things that the drivers are saying. They don't want the race fan to suffer. Back to you, Ken.
Well, that story is going to continue to boil and bubble for some time because all of the four-cylinders ran very, very slow. Their speeds were like 93, 87 miles per hour today, and it's only, they say, phase 1 of their protest. We'll look at that more through today and on our upcoming coverage from Milwaukee. We'll be back in just a moment with a live Texas 200. Driver not in the field today, and a very popular driver here is the command to give the engines a fire is Danny Ungaius.
One of the great patrons in the sport.
Here's the command to fire engines. Ungaius blew an engine in practice yesterday just before qualifying.
Start your engine.
Erupted another engine, and Danny Ungaius, who won here earlier this year, will not get a chance to go. And now those engines begin to come to full song.
Danny did turn fastest unofficial time during practice, so it's, I know they really feel bad.
Terrible break. Danny didn't want to talk about it. He said perhaps after the race today he would chat with us, but he was very upset. He wanted to get out here and go, and they've lost 2. How much do those engines cost?
Well, a real severe blow-up, such as our car suffered at Atlanta, will cost close to $30,000 to repair.
It's an awful lot for an engine. Here's the field rolling out. And that's part of this controversy, too, isn't it? The cost of these engines and trying to make them live.
But yes, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, with this controversy. There's plenty of food for controversy in racing.
Now the field rolling down pit road. 22 cars have qualified, and we'll take a look at the remainder of the starting lineup here in a moment.